Peace. What's happening, everybody? It's your favorite leather craftsman, RD Muhammad, the leather cowboy right here at Premier Leather Crafters in the Dirty South. Those who have purchased the Chinese shoe patcher, whether you bought it off of Amazon or you bought it direct from that website. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I've had my machine for it's been almost a year. It's been almost a year. The first challenge that I had was the cleanup. If you're buying this machine, this is a very good machine. The thing is, when you first purchase it, there is that you would have to do. It's going to be covered in grease and oil, and that's probably because of when they great. But there are some modifications and some things that you would have to do in order to get it exactly right. Now, they tried to preset this as close to being operational, ready to go out the box, but it's not. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now. For the price that you're going to spend on this, I mean, it's not bad. $125 for a machine that's going to basically do everything that you guys needed to do. It saves you a whole bunch of money from even is way cheaper than even the Tipman Boss that comes from most of your leather supply stores. But this machine is strong enough to pierce through 8 to 9 ounce leather without any problem. It comes with all of the different needle gauges all the way up to a 16, which is it's around here for you guys. Let me open that. Now, I think you might have a twink for most of you beginner leather crafters or even intermediate. I don't think you're going to be sewing anything thicker than 8 to 9 ounce. So a 22 needle will perfectly fine on that. But however, this thing is going to require you to do a lot of cleanup, a lot of modifications. But once you get those mods done and get the cleanup done, and this is going to come with a lot of burrs. You definitely want to invest in you a Dremel tool. I would tell you to go to Harbor Freight and get the little $14.99 doing of getting all of the burrs, especially not just for the functioning of the machine, but these little nicks, man, on this metal. I got it. And again, it's coming from China, y'all. So don't worry about technique. If you ever had to make sure that you handle with gloves. Not a shot to China, but here in the United States, China is not under a lot of the regulations like we are here. Especially, that's not to say that the machine is not going to serve you well. It will. Little nicks and burrs that's going to come on this. Okay, so now here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, once before you even put this thing together, before you even assemble it together, make sure again that you take your Dremel tool, get all of the burrs, all of the nicks, polish this thing up before you even start the assembly on it. Now, you will need to invest in use some washers and lock washers because it don't come with a lock washer especially on the handle here for your crank. And this thing has a tendency when you're spinning it, it has a tendency of backing this nut. And the last thing you want to do is have your crank project. So go ahead, if you guys can see back here, I put me a lock washer here, and that's going to keep this nut in place and tight so it doesn't fall off. Other modifications you're going to have to do is do not really pay attention to all of these. This is going to come with trial and error. You're going to have to adjust your thread guides. Now, I've moved mine. Originally, this was here. So the video that's on YouTube, which is High Tower Farms, is a great video for you guys to watch. He had his moved, and so I moved mine also, and it works great. The timing of your pitman rod. Definitely watch High Tower videos for that. This is for threading your bobbin. You definitely want to make sure that flows. The height and the adjustment of your needle rod, this thing here, you're going to have to readjust that. Now, your needle rod is not supposed to prick. If you put your finger up under here, it's not supposed to prick your finger. So if you're seeing blood, or if you're seeing your needle stick out way further than what it's supposed to, then you're going to have to adjust this rod, which is simply just unscrewing this and pushing that rod up to where it's just supposed to touch your finger. You don't want it to prick it. It's not supposed to draw blood, but it's supposed to touch it when you crank this. As you guys can see, you see how that's going in there? I can feel it touching my finger, but it's no blood. It's not pricking it. Adjusting your pitman rod to make sure that this is in time. You might have to go in and adjusting this plate here so your needle can definitely go right down into the hole like it's supposed to. Some of you who may have already bought this, you had a problem with your needle breaking, and that's how you fix that. You just loosen up these bolts up under the bottom, and then you can move this to where your needle will go directly into that hole without catching or taking the chance on breaking. And then you just tighten it back up to where it goes in flush. Other things that you might have to do, I put a washer here so I can push the needle. This controls the needle, the rod here going up and down. It was rubbing up against the machine and it didn't have a good enough clearance. Same thing on the back side. If you guys can see that, this is what the pressure foot controls, the pressure foot. And what I found out is I am going to have to put another washer here to kick this arm out and bring it, because if you can see, I'm missing this. And this little round part is supposed to fit right on top of your pressure foot. So this controls the pressure foot and how it walks. So I'm going to have to get another washer and put back here so it will kick that out. Or a friend of mine has a small machine shop to where I might can take this little piece of aluminum and let him heat it up and then just bend it just a little bit so it'll catch the pressure foot. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing else that I did. I did polish all of this up, polish all of your aluminum up, get all of those burrs off. They didn't cut this quite as clean as you would see an American-made piece, but again, it's functional. You just got to do a little extra work to it. You guys can see here where I took my Dremel tool and polished all of this up. You might can see some of where I was polishing this, and that's not uncommon with these machines. Even here, you see why I've polished all of this up. You want to take your Dremel tool and polish all of this up. Sometimes they might come with a little rust, especially when they're being shipped from overseas in China, and you might have to use your Dremel to get a lot of the rust off, especially down here in the housing. You want to polish all of that up, get all of that rust off, fully clean it, and get all of the oil off that might have come in the shipping. And then I use petroleum jelly. I didn't use the oil that came with it. This is the oil that comes with it because I don't want to take a chance on that oil dripping off onto my leather, especially when I'm doing any work, But I took petroleum jelly. Now, some people use machine oil. You can use that thick machine oil that comes in a caulk gun. You can definitely use it. I just went and Dollar Tree and got me some petroleum jelly. It keeps all of the parts greased, functioning, and sliding very well like they're supposed to. And the only thing that I did extra was I put mine, this is an old table that I found at a yard sale. And I just mounted it. Just took me some 2x4 pieces, blocks that I had laying around outside. Took me some 2x4 blocks and mounted it. And another thing that I did was put me a thread arm here. Now you will see a lot of crafters talking about adding this. And again, I just took me an old wood block and this little screw bobbin rod. Initially it would mount here, but it wasn't feeding my thread like I needed it to, or it wasn't pulling the thread like I needed to, and it kept binding. So when I went back to Hightower Farms video, he had built an apparatus like this. So basically, and I did it simpler than he did, you will see on a lot of the machines that come on the tables, you will see a lot of machines that come on tables where they have this extra They have this extra rod type thing with a long crossbar where they can feed their thread through here. But all I did was make this out of a wire coat hanger. And I mounted it to here, put a random staple in here to just keep it stationary. And I bent the hook and ran my screw right down through there. So this is not going anywhere. But when I put my thread here, my thread is going to feed up over the top of this. Then it's going to feed into my machine. It's going to feed from here to over this, and I just bent that. You guys can see that. I might just fail. All right. All that I did was I took me some needle nose and took my coat hanger and made me some wire or some thread loops. So my thread is going to come from here and it's going to feed over this, and then it's going to feed into my machine here, and then it will come out and feed into, it will go into my thread guides on this side and then run up to my looper, which is up top. You guys can see that. And then it'll run down through my needle housing to the thread. This is just something that I came up with. Do I know it's going to work? I don't know exactly, but to keep from going out and buying one, and then if this works, that'll keep me from having to go out and buy one. Most people have a wire hanger somewhere around their house. If not, you can just go to a dry cleaner. If you get your clothes dry cleaned, you can use one of those wire hangers. That's all that I did. And you can see this is where the other part of the hanger, I just cut it, stretched it out all the way. You guys can see here, just a wire hanger, unwrapped it and stretched it out. Took my needle nose, snipped it to the height that I want to get it at, because I want my thread to come up high enough to where when it's feeding, when I'm using it, it's going to pull it nice and even, and I won't have to worry about it binding. So this is going to give me enough slack for it to work. Now, I don't use this one here. This is why, again, this is trial and error. So I might have to wind up adjusting and moving, adjusting the tension on there and making sure that it feeds through right. But you guys, hey, look, this little thing right here is a great investment, especially for beginner and intermediate leather crafters. Now, if you got it like that to where you can go out and buy you a Cowboy or a Tipman Boss, go ahead and do that. Either way it goes, the only difference is you won't have to do a lot of the cleaning, a lot of the modifications. All you have to do is just go through the process of threading it up, getting the right tension down, putting the right needle in. But for those of you who aren't making the money right now, this is a great investment. Now, I could have went out and bought the Tipman, because now at Tandy, they'll never be on sale at Tandy. Sometimes you can find older crafters that's going out of business. If you're in a state where leather crafting is huge, you might can find somebody that's retiring or they got one up for sale. Or if you find an old cobbler who is going out of business, he's retiring, you might can go in and buy one of their old machines. But basically, any industrial sewing machine that is strong enough to pierce canvas or cordura material, you can adjust and change out the needles in there. Those machines are pretty much, they're not as fast. You can adjust the speed, but the process of using those, or any upholstery shop, somebody who does upholstery, those machines are strong enough and they're durable enough to pierce up to 8-ounce leather. Now, and even still, if you're questionable about it piercing 8-ounce leather, go ahead and use your chisel punches to punch the track. And once you get your chisel punch cut into your leather, then this doesn't make your machine work as hard on piercing the leather, because the chisel punches have already gone through your leather. So that's a little leather trick, a leather tip. Let me say it like that. That's a little leather tip that you can use if you are worried about your machine piercing 8 to 9-ounce leather. And especially if you're putting a liner or a backing on your leather, take that into consideration. Most crafters that I know, if you're using 8 to 9-ounce leather to do your belts on, drop your weight on the outside of it, maybe down to a 7, and then put a 2-ounce liner on the back. That's still giving you the thickness and the durability that you're wanting in your leather, but it's also going to, I need to figure out why my mic keeps turning off. It's also going to make sure that you still have that thick look like you really want. But still, go ahead and use your chisel punches, punch those channels in there, punch those chisel marks in there, and then it doesn't make your machine work as hard to go. It doesn't make your machine work hard at all, period, than to put it down into your leather. All right, guys, I'm going to get back into the next video where I'll see you guys on the next video where we're going to be showing you the leather art. But right here in the Dirty South for Premier Leather Crafters, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.